So you want to become a full-time RVer? It's a life-changing decision and a lot to think about.
In this video, we're going to go over some of the steps that we took and some lessons we learned along the way. Hopefully you watched part 1 last week and you understand we screwed up and made this video way too long, so we do have part 1 and part 2. If you didn't happen to watch part 1, it came out last week. I would suggest going back and watching that first. But this is part 2 of our how to become a full-time RVer, or how we became a full-time RVers.
So let's get right to it with part 2 of our video.
The next step for us was, how do we sell all of our possessions, or the ones we wanted to get rid of? And again, this is a tough decision, right? Because you have a lot of things you may not want to get rid of, but you probably should get rid of.
It's not easy though, definitely.
Now, one of the first things that we looked into was consignment shops, and our thought process behind that was, let them take care of it. One kind of a one and done kind of a thing, and we're out of there.
Boy, were we in for a surprise.
Yeah. The more we looked into consignment shops, at least in our area, the other areas could be totally different, it just wasn't a good fit for us. They wanted 40%
of the commission
of everything that's sold.
Yeah.
And on top of that, if they had to move stuff to their store or move things around, you had to pay for that as well. And the kicker for me was, they give it a certain amount of time. I believe, let's just say 90 days for the sake of argument. If your items don't sell within 90 days, they can just donate them. They can throw them away. They can do whatever the heck they want.
They can take it home.
So now you paid a consignment shop to take your stuff away, and then they threw it all away, and you didn't make any money. You actually lost money. Another thing, in our area, the consignment shops that were there, they did not have very good reviews.
They didn't at all.
It was scary. I won't go into details, but it was very possible you'd lose everything.
Yeah, I think they had a couple lawsuits against them.
So we ruled that one out right off the bat. Our house, we couldn't have yard sales, so you know, again, a yard sale would be a great option to get rid of a bunch of stuff, kind of do it again, one and done kind of thing, or have a couple different garage sales. We just couldn't do that because we're where we were located at. Something that worked great for us was Facebook Marketplace.
Yes,
right.
We did also try OfferUp. That didn't work so well for us, not at all.
Some people it works great.
Some people it worked great for.
Whatever reason.
We talked to people about it, and they had great success. We did not at all. But Facebook Marketplace was phenomenal for us for whatever reason.
We sold almost everything through them.
Yeah.
A couple tips with that, and a couple reasons why we do like it. Facebook Marketplace. You can actually go on when somebody wants to see something. You can look at their profile before you even accept, you know. So you can see who you're dealing with. You can tell if they look a little shady or not, which we really liked. It was nice to know who you're dealing with. Yeah. The other thing we tried to do was, luckily for us, our house was maybe a mile or two from a Home Depot, so we would always meet at Home Depot out in the parking lot, a nice public place. We always did that, so that worked great as well. Couple tips though with that, something we didn't do right in the beginning was we put a lot of stuff up there online, but I didn't put a lot of dimensions on there.
And people ask for them.
So little tip, if you're gonna sell a table, a chair, and put the dimensions on there, it's going to save you a lot of hassle, because they were asking for dimensions for a vase even. I mean, it was crazy. Just put the dimensions on there. And it'll save a lot of phone calls you don't want to answer.
A lot of messages.
But again, yard sales, Facebook Marketplace, great. I mean, no complaints at all. So again, it's just something else to think about.
The next step for us was, do we sell our home or do we rent it out?
Again, these are all big steps, and they're really life-changing decisions. Now for us, what worked for us, we did decide to go ahead and sell our home. I didn't want to have to get stuck renting and then maybe being on the other side of the country and having to worry about people maintaining the house and taking care of it and things like that.
Right.
But if you do decide to rent, you may have to look into management companies to take care of all that stuff for you. So, you know, when a water tank, hot water heater goes out, somebody, you know, they'll manage that to get it fixed, or AC, any kind of maintenance and things like that. So for us, we just didn't want to deal with it, honestly. So we did end up selling our house. Now, when we did make the decision to sell the house, we did shop around for realtors, and I'm glad we did, because I think we went to 3. A couple of them wanted, I think it was 6% commission at the time. Another one wanted only 5%. That's a lot of money when you start adding this up. The other thing we did, and just be aware of this, we got this in writing. I asked them, what happens if if we find a buyer? If somebody comes to us as a buyer and not go through the realtor, what happens? And we got it in writing where, you know, the 5% commission went down to 2.5%. So we had all that stuff, and then luckily for us, honestly, before we could sign papers, we ended up selling the house by owner, all by ourselves. So we saved a lot of money.
Yeah, we did.
We just had to worry about getting a title company, and they had a lawyer, and they pretty much took care of everything for us. So again, another big decision is selling a house, renting it out. When do you sell it? The timing.
Yeah, the timing of it.
You know, if you sell it before you get an RV, where do you stay? These are all things to consider.
We actually sold ours, and then we rented it back for 1 month.
About a month. Yeah.
Which was great because it gave us more time to finish selling more stuff and getting our stuff that we couldn't part with back in the storage unit.
So selling a house, that's another
it's a biggie.
Something big to think about. The next step for us is storage units. We have things that we just can't get rid of, you know, family photos and things like that. No matter how much stuff we sell on Facebook Marketplace, there's still things that we do have to keep and we have to put in storage. But when you start looking at storage units, there's a lot of things to consider that really factor into the pricing of these storage units. So right off the bat, we know, being full-time RVers, we are not going to go to our storage unit every week, every month, something like that. We may go once a year, if that, maybe every 2 or 3 years. So we didn't have to have or we weren't worried about a storage unit that had real easy access. What I mean by that is, one, you can pull in to the storage unit facility, maybe back up and open up the door and just unload stuff. That factors in quite a bit into your monthly price. Our storage unit, we're actually up on the 3rd floor. So by being on the 3rd floor, it's a lot cheaper than that real easy access. Now granted, we have to get dollies or carts and go up elevators to our units if we, you know, in and out. It's definitely a pain.
But it's so much better than the 1st floor.
Yeah, it's something we do every couple of years maybe. So the location of a storage unit in the facility makes a big difference. The other thing is it climate controlled? That's a huge difference. Now we definitely have climate controls that adds on to the price, but if you don't need it, don't get it, and that'll help bring your price down as well. Something else to consider is a lot of these storage facilities, they want you to have renter's insurance. If you don't have it, you're probably going to have to purchase it through them, and they're going to charge you out the yin yang. If you have RV insurance or homeowner's insurance, you might be covered with renter's insurance. So that is something to look into. Don't spend that extra money if you don't need to. And again, the storage units are just going to charge out the wazoo. So do a little bit of research on that and hopefully save yourself some money.
Something else to think about is if you are not going to be going to your storage unit that often, or if you're excuse me, you're looking in an area where you're currently living, where you just sold your home, look on the outskirts of town, or you know, even 50, 60 miles away. Some of the smaller towns away from the big cities are going to offer cheaper prices. So that's something else to think about, because we actually did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though it went up.
Yeah,
over the
that
years.
is something else I did. Well, we actually did a video on this too. We did a video on storage units. And personally, I hate them. Don't get suckered into that online price.
Yeah.
Okay, we honestly didn't realize what was going to happen, but when we first got our storage unit, it was roughly $90 a month. I forget exactly now, give or take 90 a month. 4 years later, it's up to about $210 a month. They just keep going up and up and up. And our daughter and son-in-law, they have a storage unit. Same thing's happening with them.
Yeah.
So I think it's not just the place we went to. We were at a pretty major brand, a pretty big company. They got you. They know they got you, and they just keep raising the price up. And to prove that it's just funny money and they're playing with you, as I called, and they said the only way around it was, oh, you can just get another storage unit, cancel the one you have now, get a different one, and it will start all over again. So that tells you right there, it's just they're playing games.
Yeah.
So just be aware of that. Maybe in your budget, don't budget for what that entry level you get. Bump it up a notch or two or three.
Yeah, just be aware. It's going to go up. Yeah, for sure. Next is my favorite step, buying an RV.
And believe it or not, we hear so many times of people messing this step up. Yeah. I'm not exaggerating. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes that RVers or new RVers make. Buying or purchasing the wrong type of RV for their needs. What do I mean by that? You have to understand what type of RVer you're going to be. For example, if you're into maybe motorcycles and side-by-sides and you want to take those toys along with you, you may be limited to a fifth wheel toy hauler. That might be your only option. Or are you going to have a travel trailer and pull a third or second trailer behind it with your toys in it? You can't do that in every single state, but we've seen people do it. Are you more into maybe squeezing into some small state parks or national parks, and you're worried about not getting into some of the smaller parks? You may be limited to something 30 feet and less, or 25 feet and less, or maybe even a camper van or something like that. So this is really a very important decision, is to understand what type of RVer you're going to be.
Definitely do your research.
Yes. Now once you do that, when we first started looking, we were so confused. We went to RV shows, and I think the more we went to, the more confused we got, because there's so many to look at, and they're all very pretty. They'll have all the bells and whistles. What we ended up doing, I think one of the salesmen actually suggested this to us: write down a list of your must-haves.
Yep.
Okay. You don't want to get caught up in, oh, I like the color of this one. Oh, this one has a pretty paint, or this one has this really cool little feature over here, or I like the stereo in this one. When you're on the road, those things honestly
they don't
matter that much. The things that really matter is,
it's so true,
maybe the size of your refrigerator, the size of the shower, how much living space you have. Things like those are the things that really matter. Can you
accommodate your family to come and visit, or friends to come and visit and stay with you, or not? Do you want a dining room table? That was a big one for us, believe it or not.
The dining room table we wanted. Something that Dina brought up, and this is a mistake that people will make too, is when they're looking at RVs, they're thinking, oh, we're gonna have family and friends with us every month, all the time. We have to make sure we have a spare bed. Let's just, as an example, make sure we have a second bedroom for family and friends. Now remember, with RVs, everything's a give and take. So if you have a second bedroom, that could be a third of your RV gone right there. And to be honest with you, when you're a full-time RVer on the road, you're not gonna get that many friends and family come visit you. It really isn't. It's sad to say, but you don't want to think that way and have a third of your RV really not being used, or you're only using it for storage. So,
true. Yeah.
Now, once you decide on your essentials, things that you have to have, research the manufacturers and also research their service department. There's a lot of places online you can go to and look up, different manufacturers, get all the reviews, and kind of do some research on that. To be honest with you, you're going to find out most all of them stink. Overall. Now there's everything's relative, right? So some are better than others, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you who to go with. It's a personal decision, and you have to be happy with it. So it is worth doing the research on the manufacturer and on their service department as well. The other thing I want to talk about is, this is another option. If we're talking about different RVs, if you think you're going to be boondocking a lot, you may need to look into, batteries, lithium batteries, solar panels, and things like that. We never boondock. We may do a harvest house once in a while, so I wasn't concerned about having a bunch of extra batteries and extra solar panels and things like that. So everybody's different, but you really need to consider all this. The last thing you want to do is purchase an RV, 3 months later try to sell it and get another one that really fits your needs. So
you'll lose a lot of money.
And the other part of this, maybe not so much of a deal breaker or gonna make you decide which type of RV to get. No matter what RV you get, you're gonna have to have some essential equipment that goes along with it. Sewer hoses, water hoses, maybe water regulators. There's chocks for your tires. There's a lot of things that go along with RVing as well that you just want to be aware of. Now on to our next step. Clubs.
Oh, we forgot to mention one thing. Storage.
Well, that's a big thing.
That's a big thing. Storage was also a big deal for us when we were looking for an RV. We had to have, if we were going to be full-time, we knew it was going to be for a while. We wanted to make sure we were set with the storage department.
So going along with storage, size of water tanks, black tanks and gray tanks and things like that, that's all stuff to be aware of.
And living full-time in it, everything that we have almost is in here. So luckily for us, we do have great storage in our RV, and I'm sure you too will appreciate great storage in yours.
Can I get on to our next step now?
Of course, honey. Go ahead.
Thank you, honey. Okay, under our, I think this is our last step actually. I'm going to call it clubs, subscriptions, and memberships. Now, the reason I bring this up is I really don't want you to make the same mistake that we made when we first got into full-time RVing. We went out, we did a lot of research, but we watched a lot of YouTube videos, and everybody's out there telling you, get this membership, get this subscription, make sure you click on my link. They're trying to sell you all these subscriptions, and we did. Honestly, we got hooked into some of that.
We fell for it.
We bought, I'm going to say roughly a half a dozen of them. Look, and today, we don't, all those that we bought, I think we're using one of them right now. And it all depends on the way you travel, the way, just your RVing habits. What happens with us is we typically stay 2 weeks in one location. What happens with that is, on average, most places, if you stay for a week, they'll give you a free night. So you stay for 7 nights, you're only paying for 6. So when we stay for 14 nights, we're only paying for 12 nights. That discount is usually just as good or better than a lot of the subscriptions and things like that, so or membership. So once we realized that, we just let everything lapse, and we never renewed it. Now, we do have a few that we use faithfully, and I'm going to run through these real quick. First one is the TSD fuel card.
Nice.
We'll put a link below. I just told you not to do all this, but we are an affiliate of them. If you're interested, then we'll put a link below. But don't do as I say, not as I do. TSD fuel program. What this allows you to do is it allows you to go to truck stops and buy diesel at a discounted price. We did a whole video on this. We're not going to go into all the details, but it's basically you can think of it as a debit card. It is tied like to a checking account, so that it comes straight out of a checking account. I was scared. There's ways around that. Look up our video on it, and I'll explain how we do it. But the TSD card, we use it all the time. It allows us to go to truck stops when we're towing the RV, and we've had discounts up to about 75 cents a gallon on that. So that's very, very well worth it. Something else we use is Gas Buddy. It's another free little app. I think we signed up for it and it didn't pay for anything. TSD, we don't pay for anything either. But Gas Buddy we'll use when we're in a new location. We don't know what's around. I have to get fuel for the truck. First thing I do is pull up Gas Buddy to find out where the cheapest diesel's at.
Yeah.
So I'd feel kind of silly if I went to the closest gas station and got some diesel, and then just to find out a half mile down the road it was 50 cents a gallon cheaper, which happens. You see that all the time. So TSD for truck stops and Gas Buddy for when we're in town. The other, I think this is one of the only subscriptions we still have, RV Trip Wizard. We absolutely love this. I will put a link, I think, below for them. We're not affiliated, but I'll still put a link below. We use it all the time for our trip planning. You don't have to use it. Everybody's different. We like to plan. Sometimes we're a year ahead of time. We don't book that far out, but we plan that far out. And RV Trip Wizard is just great. It's a great tool for planning, researching, reviews on campgrounds, tips on things to do in the area. It's a nice one-stop place to go when you're planning your trip. So that's RV Trip Wizard. Last one we'll talk about is Harvest Host. We still have this. I may end up letting this one lapse just because we don't use it enough.
Not anymore. We were, but we haven't been. But we might be on the way back. We might.
So we're kind of on the fence with this one. We usually travel on.
It's great though.
Yes.
We love our Harvest Host.
Yeah, and if it fits into your needs, I would highly recommend it.
Definitely.
The problem with us is we normally travel on a Saturday, so we can get set up Saturday. I can be ready for work on Sundays. The only time we would use it is if we were trying to travel for a whole weekend, a Saturday and a Sunday, and we needed a stop somewhere, like a Saturday night. That would be the only time we use it. But if it works for you, definitely check into it. Some of our favorite stops have been Harvest Host.
Yeah.
It's just, as of right now, not something we use very often.
Now, hopefully after all of that, you still want to be a full-time RVer.
And hopefully we showed you something that maybe you didn't think about in the past.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you have any questions, please comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Have a great week and safe travels.
Remember, always live life to the fullest.
God bless and take care.